All right, it's June 7th, and the cotton looks pretty miserable. And in fact, I'm going to be replanting with 2020 seed today anywhere that there is a gap or pitiful looking cotton, which is most places. Oh, it is hot as sin out today, so I am not looking forward to that because I've already spent the last 4 hours working. But anywho, we'll just die today, and gonna go around, take data, and then put new plants in the ground. And I have just changed the irrigation, the spigot, so that you can only shut off the water to the hose bib, or to the hose over there, and not to my cotton, because the contractors refuse to not shut off my irrigation. And then they don't take ownership, and then they say, I'll do that, and then they don't. And so anyway, I digress. I'm a bit miffed. But cotton is rough. I would like it to not be rough, so we're putting new cotton in the ground, and hopefully this stuff will come up, stay up, produce some stuff fast enough while it's hot out. And hopefully with the irrigation, it'll be able to limp along through it. So let me clean this filter, make sure the irrigation is going, get that stuff going, get that priming, and get some seeds into the ground. Here he is, the stink bug, getting ready to ruin my cotton in a couple months. Joke's on you, the cotton's already ruined. Anyway, actually I've only had like one space die out. Pretty much everything else is still alive. So it's good to see that the stuff that is here has the vigor to persist. So that's good. It's been a particularly mild and wet May, so that has definitely helped considering the irrigation has been off. But yeah, I think my plan is to just go through all these existing holes and just clean them out and put another 4 seeds from 2020 in there. Mark these as such. And just hope and pray for next year. I actually had a thought, which I'm saying now so that I remember to write down later. Well, I could just write it down there, but writing's hard. I think going forward, at least for the next couple of years, until we really have this site ironed out, I might switch over to pots. You know, rather than raised beds, get like 120-gallon pots, get a load of compost delivered, fill all the pots with compost. Make sure I have a large hole in the bottom for the taproot of the pot, and like set these pots up somewhere else, like over there or over there. So long as I'm close enough to either the hose bib or this head, I can run an irrigation line and just have a drip irrigation set up on all the pots, and like do like rows of 2. I could have 6 rows, and whatever that is. What's that? 90? Is that 96? 98? 96. So I could do 96 pots and have 6 rows, and you know, make this a little bit more of a chunkier block. And heck, I could even just pull up all of this fabric and just put the pots right in here, and just kind of cluster things into the middle. Because if I have them elevated in pots, then I don't have to worry about rotating the soil. I can just dump out the compost into my garden or something when I need more. And then honestly, it's not that much of expense. You know, it's $300 in compost, you know, once every 2 or 3 years. That's cheaper than dealing with the fabric. And then, you know, it's a heck of a lot easier to weed. It already comes fertilized. It's easier to deal with. And then if we have to move the plot for any reason, I can just slide it somewhere else. Like just wait till the end of the year, pull the plants out the ground. It's also way easier to pull the plants out the ground. And additionally, rather than having to deal with all this fabric, I can probably get like pot covers that can just like slip over it. So I'm going to look into that. See if there's a way that I can do these out of the ground, you know, for the time being, because really I was trying to put these in the ground to make it look like a plot, but we were doing fabric and all this other junk. So probably going forward, it's probably in my best interest to do these elevated. Just see how that goes. And if it doesn't work, then, well, I got a bunch of free pots and dirt. So it works out for me at the very least. And it's not that huge of an expense. I know at least 3 nurseries in the area that probably have an old pile of pots somewhere, or at the very least could cut me a deal on them. And like I said, it's like $300 in dirt, if that. Maybe $500 in dirt. It's a lot of dirt. 50. I gotta do the actual math. I'll do some geometry, and I'll put it up here on top of the screen. But yeah, that might be more like 600, 700. That might be a whole dump truck load of dirt. But if we have a tractor or something out here, I can move the plot around because I can just drag the pots when I need to drag them. It'll be tedious, but you know, it's definitely doable. Heck, if I had a tractor with a bucket, you know, I could slide 3 pots in there, and you know, just with me and one other guy, knock that out in just like an hour. So it's definitely worth me thinking into. I'm just thinking about how I can make this less painful, because really this plot does not need to be this big, I don't think. And I've grown probably a dozen cotton plants in 20-gallon pots now, and they have done excellent. You know, they don't get as big as they do like on deep, heavy soils, but it's just way easier to manage them like long term without having to deal with crop rotation and soil pests and stuff if I'm using straight compost. And, you know, additionally, it's compost, so it pretty much evaporates, so I can just keep topping it off, or I can dump it out and put new fresh compost in every couple of years. So I'm going to look into that. It might be worth it long term just from a productivity and like a workload standpoint, but that's my current thought. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. I'm going to write that down real quick, and we're going to put some cotton in the ground after I find my gloves and pull these weeds out. All right, so the whole plot's been weeded, and I have overheated twice now in the last, not even an hour, last 30 minutes. So I was really hoping for a cloud, but I'm not going to get one. So I'm just going to have to wait and cool off for a little bit longer before I seriously get heat stroke, because I'm bumping up against it. It is just brutally beaten down today. It's like 95, I think. But strangely, I don't feel hot. I'm just getting heat stroked, which is probably not good. All right, it's all been replanted. It's all been weeded. Now all we have to do is hope and pray. I'm going to run the irrigation for another 30 minutes. Go finish up the rest of everything that I'm doing, and then I'll go work on a presentation for the next 6 or 7 hours before I go home at 10. Great. Anyway, lots of work to do. So little time. But anyway, cotton is replanted. I'm probably heat stroked, but with any luck, these things will get going, and I'll go hit up my cousins and see if I can get any 20-gallon pots or compost. That would be lovely. Alrighty, it's the next Monday. Only 3 days later, and we already have germination. On several of these spots I've been looking at. So either the seeds I put in the ground before are starting to germinate, or the brand new seeds are already starting to pop. That'd be incredibly fast for the brand new seeds, because I mean, literally only been 3 days. But stranger things have happened. Yeah, there's another one popping up. Didn't see any over here yet, but seems to be really good germination. I don't know what it is about this 2020 stock, but they just seem to go. Yeah, there's a couple more popping up in there. At least 3 more in there. Wow, that's incredibly impressive. Hell. Well, anyway, I'm gonna have to go back through this footage and take this down on a data sheet, because that's, wow, it's really surprising. Wow, there's 3 right there. Man, that is, oh yeah, and there's one down in there too. That's really fast. Holy heck. Like almost all of this side is germinated. That's like, we're looking at like a 50% germination rate in 3 days. That is ridiculous. That just goes to show you how much these things like the heat, because it has been brutally hot all weekend from the day I planted these, including today. And so just that hot soil, as well as moisture from the irrigation, which is now active because I took all the handles off the spigot. That just goes to show it with cotton. All the historical accounts are of people planting this stuff at like the end of March. I keep telling people, it's like okra. You give it water, you give it nutrition, and you give it brutal heat, and it just flies out the ground. This time of year, you can pop the seeds in the ground, and you know they'll be that tall in like 2 weeks. So I'm expecting to see that by the end of June, that these new plants should be taller than what I see out here. And all these plants actually look much better now that they're getting irrigated, and especially now that it's hot. And here's that one perennial plant that I have, which is really interesting because it's just an old rootstock that is surprisingly putting out leaves. So I'll be interested to see if that does anything. That would be cool if it actually does. I would love to get a perennial strain growing. That would be neat. But yeah, things are looking good. It looks like we're gonna get a second wave. Now I gotta go get a busted mower. Man, it's just unreal seeing the barge board on the house now. Like, you don't know how this feels. I've been a part of this project for the last 7 years. You know, seeing it going from wisteria covered ramshackle house on the verge of falling down to having the wraparound porch on, having the barge board up, getting the back room on, and having a new historical roof back up. Anyway, I'm gonna quit rambling because I have a mower to get to. All right, it's June 17th, and we got cottons. We got good looking cottons. And the cottons that were already here have squares on them. So that's good. So we haven't lost much time. I think this is about the same time as year one that we had squares putting on. So yeah, things aren't all too bad. We're at least gonna have, you know, some plants coming in early. And these guys are looking pretty all right. So yeah, could be a lot worse. Do we still have water pressure? It appears we do. Yep, filter's not clogged, good. Fantastic. Awesome. All right, things are looking up. Thank the Lord. One thing to note though, it looks like we have had some rabbitage. So that's annoying, but looks like just a skosh. Yeah, just a wee bit of rabbitage. Nothing to be particularly concerned about, famous last words. Oh man, look at that. Those are putting on quick. Also, we have secret illegal experimental cotton. Not really. I am growing a little bit of reject seed in some dead space in my garden. Just because I want to see whether or not these terrible seeds actually perform or not. Because I've kind of been kicking seeds out of selection just because they don't look right, or they're very hairy, or they're brown, or they're small, or they're wrinkled. And it'd be interesting to just grow nothing but nasty seed under fairly decent conditions, having them here in, you know, straight compost and whatnot, and just see what they do. All right, it's June 24th now, and the cottons are looking pretty dang decent. I'm hopeful now. I mean, look at them things. Where's that one that had that very promising bud on it? Let's see, not quite anything ready to bloom yet, but potentially in the next 2 weeks we're gonna have blooms, which puts us pretty much on track for first blooms in July, which means first bulbs in September, which is still not optimal, but it's back on track to how we've been every year, so that's promising, if nothing else. Definitely on par with the year one, so not too big of a setback. Still turn this around. Looks like we got a little bit of potassium deficiency going on here, so probably gonna need to do a foliar feeding, but nothing too crazy that I can see. They look pretty good, but yeah, more potassium deficiency going on around the plot, so that's a simple fix. Potassium is very limiting in these soils, so that's not a surprise at all. Things are looking pretty good. I, of course, drove the truck today and don't have my data sheet, so we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, which will be fun. Also, I have no idea what the hell that is or where that came from. Interesting. But, anywho, let's get to taking some data before the sun comes out, because I don't have a hat either. All right, so I just went through and looked at everything, and looks like we have good survival. However, it does appear that we have a fawn that's getting in on this side. In addition, the rabbit is still here, and so the rabbit is kind of nipping the tops off of things, but there was some clear deer action over here. I had one plant that was pulled up out of the ground, but thankfully still had a couple roots in it. So I think a fawn has been making its way in here. That bit of the fence is a little messed up right now, so that's worrying. It is fawn season. They're all over the place at my house right now, so they are more than likely coming in here because they are growing little boys and girls, and they need all the protein they can get. Plot is in decent shape going into July, so I feel a bit better about this year, and hopefully we will be able to make a crop. I mean, some of these plants look pretty dang good. We've had really ideal weather this year, hot and just wet enough, with a fair bit of humidity, as well as a mild spring that was fairly wet, which we rarely ever get. But anyway, so I think I'm gonna end the video here. If you like what I'm doing here, consider giving the video a like. Leave a comment as well, and it really helps get exposure to this project, which helps me out in the long run. And additionally, if you want to see the rest of this project, you gotta subscribe. So smash the subscribe button down there. Until next time, I'm out.